Alas, the pipe dream is finally dead. Roki Sasaki will not be a Texas Ranger. On today's show, we're talking about what the Rangers do now and why this might be a mistake for Roki Sasaki, not considering Texas Rangers. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Paddock, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Paddock. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we're talking about the Rangers missing out on Roki Sasaki, what they do next, and what they are going to do with that international bonus pool money now that it's not going to the Japanese phenom. Before we get into that, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Now, the news of the day coming out yesterday afternoon, is that the Rangers will not be among the 3 finalists to sign Japanese phenom pitcher Roki Sasaki. Very annoyed that the Rangers decided to have this news broken for them yesterday afternoon, because I had recorded a show for today talking all about how the Rangers were going to be amongst the finalists, and then as soon as I had everything all edited and scheduled out and all nice and pretty, of course, the news comes out from Evan Grant that Texas will not be among the 3 finalists to sign the Japanese right-handed pitcher. Now, the 3 finalists are, shockingly, the Dodgers, who have been the favorites all along, the Padres, who have been the second favorites all along, and the Toronto Blue Jays, weirdly. Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Apparently, Roki made the trip to Toronto, did not make a trip to Texas, did not come to Arlington, did not come to see the facilities, come to tour, figure out what was going on with the Rangers, but he went to Canada. Sure. Makes sense. One of the more frustrated fan bases in baseball, the team that finished 5th in a loaded AL East, a team that has been spurned so many times by big free agents in the last few years, the masters of the "We Tried" banner. I mean, they finished second in the second Ohtani sweepstakes, it seems like. They thought they had a chance at the Juan Soto sweepstakes, and now they're probably going to finish 3rd place in the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes. But it just doesn't really make sense them being included, because, none of these final teams, given what his agent said throughout this process of, Roki doesn't need a team on the West Coast. Well, 2 out of 3 says otherwise. He doesn't need other Japanese teammates or a Japanese mentor. Well, 2 out of 3 would say otherwise. He doesn't necessarily need a big market. Well, Toronto and LA are also pretty darn big, but he also wants a team that wins consistently and has been good at pitching development. Well, the Padres and Dodgers have been winning consistently. The Blue Jays have been, not terrible recently, but the Blue Jays haven't won a playoff game, a singular playoff game, since 2016. They're also not that good at pitching development. Also, their long-term outlook is kind of questionable. Same with the Padres at this point, with the messy legal battle with ownership between the Seidler brothers and Peter Seidler's wife. I mean, it's just kind of a mess there. They haven't spent basically anything this offseason. It looks like they might not be able to bring back Jurickson Profar coming off of a career year. It felt like just the most obvious fit. They haven't done really much of anything this winter, and the Blue Jays, they've made some signings, but I mean, their core long-term is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette. Those are their 2 young core pieces, and they're both going to be free agents after this year, and Bichette's coming off of the worst year of his career. And this is not a team that is long-term set up for success. Their rotation is old and not that great. I mean, Bowden Francis had a nice rookie season, had a couple of near no-hitters, and Kevin Gausman has been really good in the past, but he's 34 years old. Jose Barrios has been up and down. Chris Bassett has been kind of up and down. Yariel Rodriguez is their number 5 pitcher in their rotation. They just signed Jeff Hoffman, so that's fine. But their offense has been bad. I mean, the guy who's projected to be their number 5 hitter was a below average hitter. It's Alejandro Kirk. And they traded for Andres Jimenez, who's not exactly a plus bat, a good player, but not a plus bat either. I mean, it just doesn't make sense them being included. It feels like it was just, a team to throw people off to say, oh, this process wasn't chalk, but it just feels inevitable that he signs with the Dodgers, like everyone thought from the beginning, and he's going to be their number 7 or 8 pitcher, and that's just kind of how things go. I mean, Dodgers rotation as of right now goes at least 60 with Blake Snell, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Tyler Glasnow, Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May, Shohei Ohtani, probably coming back sometime in May, and he's not going to be their number 6 pitcher at that point. I mean, even with the injuries to Emmett Sheehan, Gavin Stone, who's probably going to miss the surgery, or miss the year with shoulder surgery. Emmett Sheehan, who had Tommy John surgery, is going to miss a decent chunk of this year. River Ryan, who was one of their top pitching prospects, had Tommy John surgery. Kyle Hurt, also another one of their top prospects, had Tommy John surgery. I mean, they still haven't officially brought back Clayton Kershaw yet, and they're definitely going to do that. So he'd be the number 8 starting pitcher in this team? It just doesn't make the most sense, but you know what? Sure, all those things that he said that he wanted, a team with a good long-term future. If he wanted to go to a medium market team that's good at pitching development and that's going to win a whole bunch and he didn't care about the money now or long term, and the obvious fit of teams that are great at pitching development, the Padres aren't really there. They're not there, but Dodgers are amongst those smart teams that really know how to get the most out of pitchers for him to be the best version of himself. The Blue Jays are not. They're not even really close. They haven't really developed a very good home run starting pitcher since, Alek Manoah had a couple of good seasons, but he really fell off the rails the last couple of years and spent a decent chunk of the year in the minors after multiple very good seasons in the big leagues. Padres seem fine, but again, their organization feels like it's a bit in flux and a bit of chaos. They've been winning a whole lot. They've got a great GM that really pulls talent out of nowhere, so you'd feel decent about their ability to contend long term. But if that GM gets fired, which AJ Preller's been on the hot seat for a while, if the Seidler brothers end up taking control and don't spend at quite the same level that Peter Seidler did, then you really worry about them competing long term. But it doesn't really make all that much sense unless it was just chalk from the beginning, which he has said that, oh no, this wasn't chalk. He didn't have his team picked out before he saw all these presentations. But it just seems obvious that he's just going to go to the Dodgers. It's going to be boring, where everyone will have worked themselves up into a tizzy for nothing. And the Rangers have been trying to get Roki Sasaki. They've been planning on this. And for him to not even meet with the Rangers, it seems like going to Toronto, a team with much less bright, next 3 to 5 year window, heck, even 1 year window, even in year 1 of his time in the big leagues. I mean, the Rangers, they won a World Series trophy not that long ago. The only other team to win a World Series trophy more recently is the Dodgers. The Rangers have a lot of good young players that are going to be around for a long time. They have Evan Carter, they have Wyatt Langford, they have Josh Jung. They also have the stars in Marcus Semien and Corey Seager. You have Jacob deGrom and Nathan Eovaldi, who you could learn under. The Rangers also have Mike Maddox, who is one of the best pitching coaches in all of baseball. They also have a GM who was a former pitcher and has really kind of changed the perception around what the Rangers do with their pitching development in Chris Young. I mean, it seemed like it would have been worth the time for him to come and meet with the Rangers, but now maybe it's a little bit of copium, but just looking at some of the concerns with Roki, you kind of talk yourself into saying, well, maybe it wasn't that important that the Rangers get him. Well, this always was going to be the cherry on the top. Well, there really are genuine concerns about his health long term with how much he was pitched in high school. I mean, that week of the Japanese baseball tournament of him throwing nearly 200 pitches in a complete game, throwing like 600 pitches in the span of a week, pitching 3 times in that tournament. His arm feels like a ticking time bomb. I mean, the velocity drop off the drop off in his most recent year in the KBO. Maybe that's why he's coming over to try and get some kind of guaranteed chance at the big leagues, because the stuff really fell off. Not just the velocity of all of his stuff, but the movement on his pitches. The strikeouts were way down from where it had been in years past. The walks were up. I mean, and he has never pitched more than 129 and a third innings in a season. I mean, he's missed time quite a bit already in 3 seasons of pro ball. So, that's definitely a bit of copium. He still has the potential to be, an ace and one of the better pitchers in baseball, a really, really good pitcher. And it's frustrating for the Rangers to lose out on their chance to go and get one of those guys, who is still so young and has that kind of potential for not that much financial compensation. And I think it hurts the Rangers' rotation hopes, more long-term than short-term. But even then, it was still always a bit of a long shot. So now, what are the Rangers going to do with the rest of their offseason? What are they going to do with that international bonus pool money, which they have quite a bit of and very few commitments at this point? We'll talk about all that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. You can go check out all the World Series odds right now for 2025. Unsurprisingly, after this Roki Sasaki news, well, it hasn't really changed for the Dodgers. They are still favored at plus 320, but with the Padres being amongst the 3 favorites to land Roki Sasaki, they have jumped up. They were behind the Astros, just ahead of the Rangers. Now they are the 6th favorite to win the World Series, tied with Baltimore at plus 1,400 behind only the Mets, the Yankees, the Braves, and the Phillies. Interesting to see them jump up so high. Didn't really do so much for the Toronto Blue Jays being announced as the favorite. You can check out all those odds. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Shout out to the Air for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. I'll be back tomorrow, maybe with an interview with a Rangers signee. We'll see when that comes out. That will be coming out either tomorrow or on Thursday. Hoping to get you 5 episodes this week. But tomorrow I'll definitely be talking at least a little bit about the international free agent class. The Rangers international bonus pool money is somewhere around $6.2 million, $6.261 million if you want to get extremely specifics, which you might. Specific, not specifics, if you might. But the Rangers will not be spending that international bonus pool money on Roki Sasaki, but they could possibly trade a bit of it. Right now, the Rangers do not have that many commitments to just about anybody in this class because the Rangers didn't want to renege on those deals and tell these players, hey, you're going to sign with us, and then they sign Roki Sasaki, and then that bonus pool money is gone, and they tell the players, oops, sorry, we actually didn't do that. You actually aren't signing with us, so go figure it out wherever you're going to sign elsewhere. And so far, the other teams that are in this sweepstakes, the Dodgers had some money committed to some guys, and they've already lost one of their top prospects from this class to the Pirates. It seems like he is going to sign there. But the Rangers right now, the only commitment they have, it seems like, according to Baseball America, the Rangers are committed to Elorki Rodriguez. Yes, Elorki, a fun name to say. Hopefully, be saying it at the big league level at some point. But he is the number 29 prospect in this international class out of Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. He's 17 years old, doesn't turn 18 until actually the day after Christmas, the same birthday as my father. So we can wish them both a happy birthday at the same time. 5'10", listed at 175 pounds. Hasn't really nailed down a position just yet. He's profiles as a guy who is a more bat over glove at this point. Listed, according to Baseball America, as an infielder/outfielder. According to MLB Pipeline, he is listed as just an outfielder guy who, isn't going to be super flashy out there. Maybe he ends up sticking in center field, probably more likely in a quarter. He hits left-handed. He's got a really good approach. In terms of the raw power, it doesn't project for, double plus any kind of crazy tool there, but he's got a really advanced approach. He's got already an advanced hit tool. Maybe he moves through the system a little bit quickly, but since the Rangers haven't committed so much to these deals, I mean, most of these international prospects, the way this kind of goes is that, everything is announced on January 15th, but that's not really how it actually works. Most of these prospects have been scouted, and all of these prospects that are going to sign on the 15th have been scouted for years and years and years. And for most of the time, these deals have been agreed to well in advance. And MLB just turns a blind eye and says, yeah, that's kind of fine. It's kind of how this works, and we're not going to really do that much to change it or protect it or put some more guardrails around it to help these players out, which I think is a mistake. I think they should really be helping these teenagers out because they don't have a whole lot of agency as much as they should in this, but the Rangers are now free to go and pursue some of these guys in a way that they hadn't before. Normally, once we get to this point of literally the day before January 15th, everyone kind of knows exactly where everyone's going. But because of the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes, because there are these three teams that cannot, actually guarantee these prospects that they are going to be able to sign them, and maybe we'll find out on the 15th, maybe it'll take a few days of whoever actually gets the okay to sign Roki Sasaki, whoever he says he's going to sign with, they're going to have to start trading for some international bonus pool money. And if it's the Dodgers, you better believe, actually, any of these teams, whoever ends up agreeing to sign, or Roki Sasaki says, I want to sign there, they're going to have to trade for some bonus pool money. And I guarantee if that leaks out, when that leaks out of who he's going to sign with, the teams that are trading them the bonus pool money are going to try and rake them over the coals because they will have all the leverage in the world. The Dodgers, if everyone knows that he's going to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers like, hey, can you trade us, $250,000, $500,000 of international bonus pool money? What are they going to do if the team says no? I mean, they're going to have to really, it feels like, blow these people away with an offer for trading for this bonus pool money. Normally, it's not, you don't get that high a prospect, that much in terms of value of getting it back for this. But if it's for a chance to sign Roki Sasaki, and if they don't do it, then maybe Roki just comes over next year anyway. But I don't think he's going to want to do that. And if he says he wants to go to the Dodgers and the Dodgers can't make it happen before, I believe it's the 23rd of January, then he just goes back to Japan. And if the Dodgers ruin a chance at, signing him and he has to go back to Japan for another year, maybe that'll hurt their chances of signing him next year. Or maybe he just takes whatever they can give him. I don't know exactly what's going to go on with all of that, but the Dodgers right now, I don't think they have anybody in Baseball America's top 50 international prospects. The Padres have commitments to two different guys there. The Blue Jays have commitments to two different guys there. Maybe the Rangers go in and try and sneak those guys out from the other ones. Even if, the Padres don't end up landing Roki Sasaki, maybe the Rangers are able to pry away one of those two guys that the Padres are committed to, saying, hey, you don't know if the Padres can actually give you this money. We know we can give it to you, day one that we can give it to you, which is Wednesday. So come here. Or maybe they do the same to the Blue Jays. Can you imagine how frustrated Blue Jays fans would be if they lost some of the guys who they had committed their international, bonus pool money to? If they lose those guys and they lose out on Roki Sasaki, I would be incredibly frustrated if I was a Blue Jays fan. But the Rangers are now free to go and try and recruit some of these guys. I don't know exactly who they would go for, but just kind of looking through baseball or MLB Pipeline's top 50, international prospects from this class. I mean, the ones that really stick out to me are, it's really just Aiden Johnson, who is out of Nassau in the Bahamas. The Rangers have had a lot of ties to Nassau. Their top prospect in their system is Sebastian Walcott, who is from the Bahamas, who has incredible upside. I mean, I don't know if they have any ties to Aiden Johnson particularly, but they've got some good ties to the Bahamas. They have scouted the Bahamas well. They have good relations with people in the Bahamas. They've had some scouts out there. And hey, having Bam Bam Sebastian Walcott as a guy to point to, saying, hey, look at this guy who we signed out of the Bahamas who has been absolutely incredible. You want to be like him? Do you want to, maybe also have a chance to be the best player from the Bahamas? I mean, I talked about it on Friday's show when I was talking about Sebastian Walcott. There's been 9 players in Major League history from the Bahamas. So the bar for best Bahamian baseball player in history, at least in Major League Baseball history, is not that high. It's literally just Jazz Chisholm, who is a very good player. But still, if that's the greatest player from your country ever, that's attainable. It's attainable for Sebastian Walcott. I don't know exactly if it's attainable by Aiden Johnson. I mean, he's 16 years old. He's listed at 6'2", 180 pounds, a shortstop for now. Maybe he ends up at third base. Maybe he ends up in right field. He also has a big old arm, plus hit tool projected for, plus power. Maybe that's a guy that the Rangers go and chase down and say, hey, well, we got some money freed up, so maybe this is where we end up going with our international bonus pool money. But in terms of what they're missing out on Roki Sasaki, it's more a long-term hurt than it is a short-term hurt. I'm going to talk about why that is, and some Rangers in the top 100 prospects of Baseball Prospectus's top 101, and some news about a former Rangers first-rounder leaving the sport of baseball. All that and more right after this. Shout out to the Everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. I'll be back tomorrow with Alan Trejo, Rangers minor league signing, a former big leaguer, talking about why he signed with the Rangers and talking a little bit more about this Rangers offseason in general. Now, the Rangers are missing out on Roki Sasaki. It really hurts them more long-term than it does short-term. And short-term this year, the Rangers rotation, it looks fine in terms of depth, in terms of top-end talent. I mean, hopefully you get a healthy season from Jacob deGrom, from Nathan Eovaldi. Those guys as your top 2, that's a really, really solid top 2. And then the rest of this rotation come opening day, it probably looks like John Gray, Tyler Mahle, Cody Bradford filling it out, and that's a solid rotation. I mean, I think Bradford would probably be the number 3 at this point for me. Gray moves down to kind of a number 5 role. If the Rangers did sign Roki Sasaki this year, then I wouldn't have been surprised if the Rangers moved John Gray to the pen, moved Tyler Mahle down as the number 5 starter, and then Bradford is your number 4 starter, and then Kumar Rocker can start the year in AAA, kind of stretch him out a little bit, not having to put too heavy a workload on him for this year. But after this year, the Rangers rotation, we'll see what it looks like. I'll do a little bit more in-depth look at what the Rangers whole team will look like in 3 years and 5 years, probably at some point next week, more likely. But next year, John Gray is a free agent, Tyler Mahle is a free agent, and then you've got some openings in your rotation. Hopefully those are filled by homegrown guys like Cody Bradford, who keeps having progress as the Rangers' first decent rotation pitcher that's homegrown in the longest time. Then hopefully you can have Rocker as every 5th day guy that you can count on to be healthy, give you 150 to 200 innings, maybe 200 will be pushing it in 2026, but there's still that hope there. Then you're hoping Jack Leiter can finally be ready to be a part of this rotation, and then you got Alejandro Rosario, not Ozuna. Ozuna will not be challenging for a spot in the rotation as he is an outfielder, but Alejandro Rosario, I think 2026 for a big league debut sounds more likely. Maybe Rosario just blows people away in AA and in AAA this year and makes the big leagues this year. I mean, who knows exactly? But in the long term, having Roki Sasaki as a part of this rotation, for the next 6 years or so, as a homegrown kind of starter, not a big free agent money pitcher who puts up big free agent money pitcher type of stats, that would have been such a helpful thing for the Rangers long-term in their team building. They'll still be okay without it. They didn't completely plan their offseason around Roki Sasaki. They did plan a little bit of their international free agent class around the attempt to sign Roki Sasaki, but that's what you do sometimes. When there's a player of this caliber that you have a chance to go get, then you do that. You plan years in advance to try and get a chance to sign this guy, and if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. Maybe he ends up having Tommy John surgery immediately and misses the first 2 years, and the Rangers think, okay, well, why'd we build all that hope around him? I mean, who knows what's going to happen with Roki Sasaki, but Would have been really nice. Alas, it is not happening. What's also really nice is the Rangers' top 3 in their farm system, all making Baseball Prospectus' top 101 prospects, including the highest anywhere has ranked Sebastian Walcott. The Rangers' number 1 prospect is ranked number 10 overall in Baseball Prospectus' top 101 prospects. The only ones ahead of him. Number 1, they have Roman Anthony. They have Dylan Cruz ahead of him. Christian Campbell, who is an infielder / outfielder with Boston. I mean, Boston having 2 of the top 3 guys in 2 of the top 3 prospects in baseball is very, very encouraging. I mean, Detroit has 2 different guys that are ahead of him, Jackson Jobe and Kevin McGonigal. Walker Jenkins, who was picked after Wyatt Langford, is kind of interesting and not the player who was picked before Wyatt Langford in Max Clark. I mean, he's still up there. But the only other ones that are ahead of Sebastian Walcott that I haven't named already are 2 Dodgers outfield prospects in Zaire Hope and Josue De Paula. But Bam Bam Sebastian Walcott at number 10. The Rangers have more prospects on this list. It's not just Sebastian Walcott. They also have the number 8 right-handed pitching prospect in all of baseball in Kumar Rocker. He is all the way down there at number 41. Honestly, I thought he'd be a lot higher. I thought he'd be higher than some of these other prospects. I mean, Tink Henson, Brandon Sproat are both right-handed pitching prospects that are ranked ahead of him, where Rocker's already made his big league debut. He has already shown that kind of upside, that potential. I know that there are injury concerns with him, but having him all the way down there at 41 feels a little low, but hey, it's a tribute to Dirk Nowitzki, so maybe it's not all that disrespectful. And the last Rangers prospect on this top 101 prospects list is Alejandro Rosario at 72. That honestly feels about right. It feels good to have him jump onto the top 100 prospects in baseball, and not just a fringy 95th ranking or 98th ranking or 101st ranking, but all the way up there at 72. I think he's a guy who could jump all the way up into the top 50 pretty easily at midseason if he has a good start to his Double-A career. We'll see what he looks like. I feel pretty confident that Rosario is going to start the year in Double-A. He only had 1 year of pro ball. It was an incredible first year, but it was still 1 year. I'm a little shocked that Walcott isn't that much higher. I'll probably talk with Grant Schiller about the top 101. He was definitely instrumental in putting Sebastian Walcott all the way up there at 10. I think he should be higher. I think he should be a top 5 prospect in baseball, being a guy who, as an 18-year-old was already in Double-A, is going to start the year in Double-A, putting up these crazy exit velocities already, playing a premium position, striking out a little bit, but having a decent walk rate and putting up really good in-game power numbers as an 18-year-old with that kind of, basically limitless upside. I know the floor is still pretty low, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe there's some Dodgers prospect bias in here because the Dodgers just happen to get, the benefit of the doubt with a lot of prospects and have kind of earned that. But I thought that was pretty neat to see 3 Rangers prospects in the top 101. I think that those 3 guys are probably going to be universally top 100 guys. I'm not sure if Baseball America has released their top 100, but I'm pretty sure all those 3 are in their top 100. MLB Pipeline hasn't quite updated their 2025 top 100 prospects, but I feel very confident that all 3 of those guys are going to be in there. As for Walcott, we'll see. I thought he'd be universally a top 5 prospect in baseball. I think top 10 is expected with what he's done. Being at 10, there's nowhere to go but up for him at midseason. If he is crushing it in Double-A like I expect, then maybe he'll end up being the number 1 prospect in all of baseball at some point. But there is some last bit of news. A former Texas Rangers first rounder that is calling it a career, made his big league debut with Texas in 2022, got his World Series ring. Bubba Thompson, the first-round pick back in 2017 out of McGill-Tulane Catholic High School in Mobile, Alabama. He was a 3-star quarterback prospect in high school who was going to walk on at the University of Alabama, But when you're a first-round draft pick, it's hard to give up that kind of money, especially, when you're not a supplemental first-round pick, but he was the Rangers pick at 26th in the 2017 draft. But he is headed back home to Mobile, to the University of South Alabama. He is enrolled, and he is going to attempt to walk on to the USA football team, the Jaguars, in his hometown of Mobile. He was rated, like I said, as a 3-star quarterback prospect. Maybe he ends up more of a wide receiver because he has legit top-of-the-scale speed. But congrats to Bubba Thompson. He spent the rest of his big league tenure in 2024, his last big league season in Cincinnati. He just did not put up enough offensive numbers to be worthwhile for his elite speed. He played really good defense out there in center field, but he had raw power. He just couldn't quite tap into it at the big league level, couldn't quite, figure out how to get a big league capable approach. But hey, he made the big leagues. He is a big leaguer. He is a World Series champion, played 37 games in that 2023 season, and had one game where he really impacted and made the Rangers win that game. His speed in that game at Wrigley early on in the season, him just going nuts on the base path, that gave the Rangers a win. And the Rangers needed every single win they could get to make it to the playoffs that year. So, hey, hats off to Bubba Thompson. Best of luck to him at South Alabama, rooting for him to go and have success there. And who knows, maybe end up getting drafted in multiple sports as a professional. But that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.